Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Boltyn Battles. This time I'm just trying Boltyn Dawnblade Boltyn because playing the Lumina combo can get a little bit stale sometimes, and since I'm not really training for anything competitive right now. So yeah, Dawnblade Boltyn, how it works. The Lumina obviously lets you lets you attack twice with Dawnblade, which can threaten the counter on it. Another card that does so is Dusk Path Pilgrimage, which reads if it gets buffed. It's a 1 cost. You buff a weapon by 1, 2, or 3 depending on the pitch, and if it hits, you can attack with it again. So usually it's pitch a blue, play Dusk Path, play Dawnblade, use a soul to give it go again, and if it hits, you get to attack with it one more time. So here, of course, when I'm trying out a very cool deck and something I want to relax with, I get paired with an Icelander. Here I take out the Fate Foreseens, I put in the Razor Reflex. I think there's something of note here. I recently took out V of the Vanguard because I wasn't really using it at all. So here I took out the Fates and the Sinks to put in the yellows. And the Oasis Respite, just so that I might have more peach to now whatever Icelander throws at me. I'm going second. He Channel Lake fridges me, which is a weird play I've never really been in support of Channel Laking on the first turn. Because as Icelander, you can prolong Channel Lake by just putting in the arsenal. So here he ends his turn, I'm stuck with my hand. So here I can't charge, so Beacon and Courageous Steel Hand are completely useless in my hand. But I do pitch the Courageous Steel Hand first, because Courageous Steel Blade, or is it Steel Hand? I do pitch the Courageous first because I want to get it out of my hand since I'm not using it at all. Here Meritus scolding me, I now the damage with the blue. I'm pretty sure it's Steel Hand. But anyway, so I Arsenal Valiant Trust. Valiant Trust is pretty good. It's a 7 for 1 mana. He throws at me a Finder's Fighting Spirit. I take a look at my hand. 2 blue, Board of Courage. That's horrible. But at the same time, I do have a Razor Reflex. So that immediately gives my Board of Courage go again. So I calculate if I pitch 3 to Razor, Dawnblade, and Valiant Trust, that will be 10 plus a card drawn from Board of Courage. And that's I decided that even though this is a blue hand, I might as well put it to use, So here I attack with Board of Courage for 1. He cold snaps me. I wasn't really thinking at this point, and I did take back what I wanted to do because this gives me a Frostbite, and because you're not playing Radiant, right? You are playing Dawnblade. You do need to pay for Dawnblade. So deciding to pay for the Valiant Trust isn't a good choice because you have nothing else to do next. Because I'm already paying 2 for the Razor Reflex. So here I take the 3. What I could have considered was, because I was gonna draw a card from Board of Courage anyways. So what I could do is now 1, pitch 2 for a Razor Reflex, and then with the card drawn I can pitch it to Dawnblade. But here I see that I'm 28 and he's 34. He has a lead in life, which isn't necessarily bad because the Finder's Fighting Spirits, those start to dwindle and the 1 life gain isn't there. Although I still don't want to eat it, So here he blocks. And then I just Razor, getting to draw a card. So yeah, you see with that 1 floating, I could have now and drew a card to pitch for the Dawnblade. But here swinging with Dawnblade or swinging with Engulfing Light, it's still 3 damage, but Engulfing Light threatens an on hit, so that's what I do. So the Boltyn versus Icelander matchup is pretty sucky. I don't even... I've played a couple of games with it, lost about 100% of it, unless I out-aggro the Icelander, which is very rare. Hypothermia or a Channelic Frigid just stops you. So here he Wounded Bulls. I take a look at my hand. I don't mind keeping it. There's a Bolt of Courage. Charging Take Flight, Courageous Steel Hand. So yeah, I take the 7, which is very dangerous. But I decided that, hey, I have a Lumina there. I could probably try something. So yeah, I haven't really found a lot of success into the Icelander matchup. I mean, Boltyn is already very hand intensive when it comes to charging, and then you don't really have any access to pitch to prevent to prevent arcane damage. Half your cards cost stuff to pay for. So here I buff my Bolt of Courage, giving it go again. Drawing a card. I get a Soul Shield, which isn't bad. So here I Lumina. The reason why I Lumina instead of playing safe and pitching to Valiant Trust and then Dawnblade was because I had Tunic. So I could, if he gives me 1 Frostbite, I can still do stuff with it. You know, by taking out the Tunic and paying. Here I give it go again. Didn't get the life, which is sad, but it comes. It's like that. So yeah, when I brought this to an armory once, I went 2-1 with it. It isn't really very powerful or strong. It is just a surprise factor because when people play against Boltyn, they expect to play against the Sabers, to play against Radiant, but nobody actually expects Dawnblade. And then the questions, hey, do you run Iron Song Determination, or like what combat tricks do you run, and then what's up with your deck? That starts to sink in, and they don't really know what you're doing. Add that on top of the fact that Boltyn in itself is very, very rare, and you can't really find him out there. It just adds to the question mark that comes when you play against him. And I guess that's how I've been getting most of my wins. Here he swings at me for 5. I look at my hand. I could pitch for Dawnblade and then Razor. That would be 6 damage. But I'm eating whatever comes here. We are at the same life. So instead, I just block for 5. And I can still do the same thing with Soul Shield Dawnblade. But here he swings at me with a Fire Endo Fighting Spirit, which is okay. Because what I can do is just pitch 2 to Soul Shield. And because we are at the same life total, because my damage output isn't good and I haven't been rushing him, I negate the 1 life gain. So yes, there is a case where I attack for 6. But here, if I don't attack for 6, our life total remains the same. Everything remains the same except for the fact that I get a soul. Unless he does something on his turn. But with Battle Mage, what can you do on your turn that's very impactful? At most, it's an Emeritus Scolding for 4 and then a Waning Moon for 3. Here he swings at me with 7 again. This time I look at my hand. I see Take Flight. I see Valiant Trust in my arsenal. And I am good. I see two blues, although I pitch 1 away. I pitch 1 and send 1 into the soul. So here, even with 2 Frostbites, I can still do something. But here's where the animosity, is that the right word? The lack of player knowledge in regards to playing against Boltyn comes in. Because when I take flight, hypothermia, the opponent has a hypothermia in Arsenal, but he didn't play it. I guess what he was trying to do is figure out what exactly comes after. But usually you do not want me to do anything after my take flight, because that's already very sad. So here I take out a soul for take flight, for Valiant Trust. And he goes to hypothermia me, which is okay. I managed to leak 4 damage in, and this is leaking another 4. Here I pay 1 because I'm not gonna do anything after this. So here I do think it's because Boltyn's a very how do I put it? You don't really see Boltyns around, so most people don't practice against it, and they are quite inexperienced into how you're supposed to deal with the Boltyn. So here I see there were some considerations. I had 2 raids. My 2 Dust Path Pilgrimage were raids. I could pitch 3 to Dust Path Pilgrimage, and then if he blocks out, my turn ends there. Or I can Bolt of Courage, pop Snapdragon Scales, because I didn't want to risk myself not doing anything with a 4-card hand, and all I did was pitch, play Dust Path, and hit with a Dawnblade, and he just needs 2 cards to block. That's not something very nice. So I Bolt of Courage. I don't really need a card draw there. What I needed was the charging, because he runs attack actions, and I want to trigger my Lumina. So here he's swinging at me for 3. I take time to consider it. What I consider is Dawnblade is going to cost me 2, Dust Path Pilgrimage is going to cost me 1. That's already 3, and I have a Tunic up. So I don't really have the capacity to now. Then again, if this hits, I draw a card. So here, because of the Frostbite, what I do is I will Dust Path Pilgrimage, pitching 3. So I was thinking back at this in the shower after I played, but I was thinking back at this and was wondering why I didn't Lumina and then Dust Path Pilgrimage to make my sword a 7, and then the following hit would be 4. I think the reason was because by presenting a less threatening front of 6 damage with Dust Path Pilgrimage, and if let's say if it doesn't hit, I give it go again, I play Lumina and hit for 4. So that's I'm threatening 10 damage there. Alternatively, I could Lumina, play Dust Path Pilgrimage, hit for 7, and then hit for 7. He's probably gonna block out because Dust Path Pilgrimage, right? So, and then hit for 4. That's 11 damage. But this way, what I could do now, where I Dust Path Pilgrimage first and then Lumina the next time, is that I open up the possibility of my Dawnblade swinging for 3 times, where it's 7 followed by 4 followed by another 4 because of Dust Path Pilgrimage and Lumina Ascension. So I felt that was a valid consideration where I don't show that I have a Lumina. I Dust Path Pilgrimage, see what he does, and even if it didn't hit, I give it go again, I play Engulfing Light, and I just pass the turn, and I have a Lumina and Arsenal. So here I managed to swing with my Dawnblade 3 times because he let Dust Path Pilgrimage hit, and here once again the attack action punishes him because it buffs it to 5. Now I could keep Engulfing Light in Arsenal, but I'm risking, I don't really have snaps anymore. So what I decided to do was just give it go again and swing one more time with Dawnblade. So I felt that was a valid use of snaps instead of going with the take flight plan, because even then I am not very open to I am very open to disruption, considering I had 2 raids in hand. So here I threaten lethal, which is what he blocks. I get a counter, which is very nice considering he's at 2 life. What I see in this hand, I see a Razor Reflex, I see take flight, and I see that I don't have enough mana. So what I do, I just pitch to take flight, knowing that this is coming for 4. If he blocks for 3, I win. If he blocks for 6, I don't necessarily win. But I want to be able to keep the counter on Dawnblade, because that's what that's the annoying part of Dawnblade, forcing you to block twice with 2 cards instead of 1. So here I have 1 floating, I have 3 cards in hand, a yellow, a red, and a red. What that means is that I probably could stop any arcane I can stifle the arcane damage that comes at me. But here I decided that, hey, my Dawnblade counter is way more important, so I just play the Razor Reflex. Because what am I supposed to do? If I don't play the Razor Reflex, I keep a yellow, a red, and a red, and no charge card in hand. That's not very nice. So here I Razor. I realize that Razor doesn't give my Dawnblade go again. Then I was like, oh, hold up, wait, I need to give it go again. The reason why I do this is because he has 2 cards in hand. This is attacking for 1. He's down to 1 life. So when he's down to 1 life, I could do 2 things. I could let him have a 2 card hand, or I could take both cards out of his hand, even because he has to block this Valiant Trust for 4. And I know Valiant Trust for 4, yuck, but this demands 2 cards off his hand, which he very happily gives. Once again, my Dawnblade counter stays. Here it's a bit tricky because I have an Oasis Respite, but with an Engulfing, with a E-Strike in hand, what I decided to do was just E-Strike for 7, keeping the Oasis Respite in case anything happens, because I'm at 10, right? And then after that, giving it go again with Boltyn's ability, and to attack for my Dawnblade for 4. So that's 11. And here, because he is at 1, once again, when you are at 1, Boltyn becomes super dangerous. I'm attacking for 7, that's a breaking point, so I demand 3 cards out of his hand. Followed by a Dawnblade for 4, which is gonna demand 2 cards out of his hand, but he doesn't have 2 cards out of his hand. So here I'm checking to see whether I got lucky, or was it something else. And I do admit that there wasn't a lot of disruption when it comes to a Dawnblade Boltyn. So in this matchup specifically. But disclaimer, half the time this deck doesn't work. You don't really, when you need soul, you draw your Duskblade Pilgrimage. When you your Duskpath Pilgrimage, when you have souls to Duskpath Pilgrimage, you draw a blue Duskpath Pilgrimage, and you're like, what the fudge is happening? But when it works, it's great. That's the reason why I love Boltyn, you see. Like, a lot of things are unexplored because they don't necessarily work the way it's intended, whether it's with X Boltyn or Dawnblade Boltyn, you know? And I think that's the beauty of him. Whenever you try something, whenever you look into something in Boltyn, you always feel like, hey, this might work, I might figure this out. And yeah, this one win alone against the Icelander just made me feel really good, because I'm not playing Saber's Boltyn, I'm playing Dawnblade Boltyn, and hey, I managed to pull it off. So yeah, there you go. Dawnblade Boltyn. I do appreciate all of you for sticking by me. We're at episode 5. I didn't really think I'll get this far so soon. But yeah, I hope to bring you guys more Boltyn content. I'll see you guys around. Thanks for watching.